हेलो गाइस, मैं आप सबका दोस्त ऑल इन वन। आज आपके सभी के साथ इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग वाला एक्सपेरिमेंट करने जा रहा हूँ। यह एक केमिस्ट्री का एक्सपेरिमेंट है। यह स्टडी वीडियो है जिसमें हम लोग एक्सपेरिमेंट देखेंगे जो बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट है और ये केमिस्ट्री के मेटलर्जी सेक्शन में आता है। चलिए शुरू करते हैं। इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग होता क्या है? इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग व्हाट इज इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग? पहले डेफिनेशन देख लेते हैं। A process of deposition or layer of any desired metals on another material by means of electricity calls electroplating। इसको छोड़ो, अब हमारी मुझसे मतलब आसान तरीके से आसान डेफिनेशन याद करना। The process in which we make a coating of one metal on another metal called electroplating। अब इसको समझते हैं, ये इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग होती क्या है। डेफिनेशन तो सबको पता चल जाएगी होती क्या है। इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग वो प्रोसेस है जिसमें हम किसी एक मेटल के ऊपर दूसरी मेटल की लेयर लगाते हैं, वो भी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की सहायता से। ये है इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग। आइए उससे पहले इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग से पहले एक टर्म और है, उसे और देख लें। इलेक्ट्रोलाइट्स इलेक्ट्रोलाइट्स अ सॉल्यूशन इन विच इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग टेक प्लेस। और जो हम लोग इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग करने जा रहे हैं उसमें हम लोग ब्लेड जो भी होता है टिन मतलब स्टील, उस पे हम लोग इस ब्लेड पे हम लोग कोटिंग करने जा रहे हैं कॉपर की। तो कॉपर के लिए हमको इलेक्ट्रोलाइट चाहिए होगा CuSO4 जो कि उसी का सॉल्ट है। क्यों चाहिए होगा? क्योंकि जब CuSO4 का आयन डिसोसिएशन हम लोग करते हैं तो Cu+2 SO4-2 और आगे आपको पता चल जाएगा कि ये कैसे होता है। और इसमें इलेक्ट्रोलाइट्स हैं। अब हम पार्ट में आते हैं। इलेक्ट्रोलाइट वो है जिसमें इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग हो रही है, जिस सॉल्यूशन में इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग हो रही है। इस वाली इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग कराने के लिए हम सॉल्यूशन लेंगे CuSO4। तो इलेक्ट्रोप्लेटिंग जानने से पहले हमें ये जानना होगा कि वो फॉर्मेशन ऑफ CuSO4। तो चलो चलते हैं फॉर्मेशन ऑफ CuSO4 के लिए। उससे पहले आप सभी लोगों को ये वीडियो पसंद आए तो लाइक कर दें, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें। In the process of electroplating, we first form an electrolyte which we call CuSO4, which means copper sulfate. We do for this making, we join a coppers with both electrode positive and negative and put in the solution which we call electrolyte. In the electrolyte, thus there was a dilute H2SO4 was there. When the electricity passes through the solution which we call electrolyte, the molecules of H2SO4 was dissociated in a hydrogen ion and SO2 ions, and in the sulfate ion there was a 2 negative charge, while in a hydrogen ion there was a 1 positive charge. Hydrogen ion will go toward a cathode where a positive charge was there, and hydrogen ion was changed into a hydrogen gas after the reaction of another hydrogen ions, and it will moves via cathodes, while the sulfate ion which has negative charge was remain in the solution as work as free ions. While the electricity which we process in the electrode which we take as copper, the copper atoms was changed into a copper ion after losing of their electron. The copper ion was moves in a solution which has positive charge and react with sulfate ions. Sulfate ions are already present in the solution, so the copper ions will go and react and form a CuSO4 and gives a color blue. And in this process we see the process are also taking place and the solution will relatively change in the blue color. So without wasting our time, we will meet after the formation of electrolyte means CuSO4, or which we call copper sulfate. Here we can see the oxide layer also be formed, which has a reddish brown color, because in the electrolyte the water also present and dissociated in their ions and react with copper and form copper oxides. as we seen in this. And so we meet after the formation of copper sulfate solution. Here we add sulfuric acid to make a fast reaction. Because when more H2SO4 was born in the solution, the more ions was there, so the rate of electricity flow was increased and the rate of chemical reaction was taken place was also increased. Here we can see the layer of clearly the layer of copper oxide was formed, and which was easily removable by our hands because it does not mix up so for a strong bond with a copper. We want to say a special thanks to our teacher to experience such a nice experiments and experience such a practicals of chemistry like electroplating, where in which we makes a coating on a blade of copper when and the CuSO4 was formed and electricity was passes through in this solutions by with the help of battery of 7 or 3 watts. And for uniform electroplating, small voltage was required. In the process of electroplating, we use electrolytes CuSO4 because when the copper sulfate ions goes into a solution, also the electricity was passes through a copper sulfate. It also breaks in their ions, which is copper and sulfate ions. The copper ions will goes and make a coating on a blade, which was dissociated by the CuSO4, and there in the solution the SO4 negative ions are also present. So the copper ion which was dissociated by a electrode which we on the anode, which so copper ions was released and make a reaction with with SO4 ions and form a CuSO4. This cycle was for regularly taking place after when the copper was dissociated and make a coating on a blade. This was a result that we can find.